Hey, it's Second Soundwave again. Today I'm doing something a little bit different. Instead of viewing the usual, Transformer or Gundam or what have you, I'm actually reviewing the legendary Megazord from Power Rangers Super Megaforce. Now this thing was called Gokaiyo in Japan, and this is a completely new mold, completely different, smaller, lower quality plastic, less paint apps, but it's also about a quarter of the price. So yeah, now, with it, I'm going to start off with this cool little Ranger key they get. It's translucent, red, super mega red, and it's pretty neat. It's like a little action figure, and he's got good posability, great paint for a Bandai of America figure. And what's cool that this guy can do that the Japanese version can't is it has a little spring in there, so it automatically flips up instead of having to manually fold it. It is, however, really small. It is, well, I don't have anything meaningful to compare it to at the moment, but I believe the normal Japanese ones were actually like about the size of a actual key, while this one's quite a bit smaller. But it does actually serve a purpose, and it's not just a little thing they threw in. We'll get into that later. But right now, we've got the 4 Gokai machines, or Super Megazords, as they were called in the US, which is kind of a confusing name. Anyway, we got Super Mega Sub, Super Mega Jet. No, we got the Super Mega Sub Zord, the Super Mega Jet Zord, the Super Mega Skyship Zord, the Super Mega Racer Zord, and the Super Mega Wheeler Zord. Okay, that is... I don't really like those names that much. The Japanese names, I believe, were Gokai Marine, Gokai Jet, Gokai Galleon, Gokai Racer, and Gokai Trailer. They aren't a lot better, but I still wish they were a little more creative with the names. Anyway, let's start looking at the individual Zords. First off is the Sub. It's, white and pink and black and gold. I like the anchor on the front, that's kind of cool. It does look a bit like a shoe. I think there's supposed to be some silver paint here and on the top. And obviously it's smaller than the Japanese one, and it has the big ports everywhere. And this part doesn't open. But other than that, it's aesthetically it's exactly the same, except for the paint. Next up is the Jet, which is by far the worst of the entire bunch. Apologize for not completely on camera. The ship sticks out quite a bit. But yeah, I mean, it's a box, basically. No, really boxy arm with a cockpit and wings. That is because this was an actual box in the Japanese version, because you connect everything together, and when you turn the wheel on the back, all the compartments would open. And you could put little Zords and Ranger keys and what have you in there. Which is a cool feature that was almost completely removed for the US version. Now notice I said almost, because we'll get to that in Megazord mode. But right now, it's a jet with a pirate hat on top. The hat actually kind of looks like its own little Zord, and I have it on its own, but it's supposed to go with this. Also, one thing that's nice about the blue and green Zords is that, unlike pink and yellow, the ports actually fold away. Anyway, next up, Super Mega Wheeler Zord. Very yellow, not that bad. Doesn't turn, none of these wheels move, it's just got these 2 rollers on the bottom. There should be yellow on the side, there should be silver on the sides, there should be silver on the top. This should open, there shouldn't be pegs here. Other than that, it's smaller and very standard Bandai of America fare. And then there's the car. It really doesn't look like a Formula 1 racer in any way. It's too bulky. The engine looks like a hand, and there's no spoiler. But finally, what is above and beyond the best out of the entire set, the Super Mega Skyship Zord, or Gokai Galleon. Anyway, as you can see, this thing is pretty big, because it obviously, forms the torso. It's got 3 sails. One of them's nice and big, main sail. It does actually, I believe it's the only one that has the Gokaiger logo actually printed on it, instead of just molded. You can kind of see a bit of face there, you can see legs back here. But other than that, it's pretty neat. It's got the big wheel on the back. And there are some paint differences between this and the Japanese version. just not as many as the others actually, but still. I think there was gold along the edges of this or something, and I know that the backs of the legs were painted instead of having these red blocks there. The blades of the swords were silver, and I think the hilt of it was black, but it might have still been gold, I'm not sure. But I still actually think on the Japanese version even they didn't have the side cannons painted or the symbol there, so that is something that really neither of them got right. But anyway, it's a big ship. It's pretty cool actually. And let's get this into Megazord mode, because that's what Megazords do. So, first you take the trailer, and you do that. And that's the difference between this and the biggest difference between this one and the Japanese version is that, well, for this Zord at least, is that even though the trailer doesn't rotate, instead of having to pull it off and put it back on, you just do that. Then the submarine, just open up the front, plop it down. Kind of hard to get it to balance because it's pre-tilted. But yeah, then you take the jet, fold up all the wings, pop the hat off, and there you go. Car, just lift the hand out, rotate the wheels down, and I think you're good to go. Yes, you are. Then, the big ship. Just the camera, and what you do here is you start by flipping in all of these, and then you flip this sail up, spin this around, collapse it up, and then split this in half, and then take this and throw it off to the side, and split that open, and now you have a torso. So you take the torso, and you plug it onto the legs, as you'd expect, and then the arms, go where you'd expect them to. And then, for the little finishing touch, you pop on his little pirate hat, and you have the legendary Megazord, or Gokaiyo, if you prefer the Japanese name. Now this front part of the ship becomes his two swords. You can put them in his hands, like, well, you know, swords, so you can stick them in his hands. You can also plug them in to here. However, they have a little slot and peg mechanism, so you can only put them in drooping down, which is kind of a bummer because I like the swords looking like this. Although I guess you could just swap sides. Yeah, you could just swap the sides they're on, so never mind. But yeah, this one does have this. Oh, and also, these are a very bendy plastic that really doesn't feel very sturdy at all, and I feel like I'm always going to just rip them in half whenever I'm using them because they just don't feel that sturdy. You have to put the red one in this hand because it has a little slot for it. And on the Japanese version, well, first of all, this part on the front of the jet was gold, but you could also flip the hilt up. Well, this part up to form a hilt, but you can't do that with the US one, so it just sort of hangs down there. And then you got the other sword, which pops in here. Now, as for articulation, you've seen pretty much everything there is to see. His arms go up and down about 180 degrees because of the shoulder pads. You can't really lift the shoulder pads up because of the hat. And the legs do nothing except, well, they can do that. But yeah, he is Zord Builder compatible. He's the same size as the Gosei Great Megazord. And he has one final little interaction with this key. I love doing that. That's so cool. You can also activate it by dropping the key on the ground, so you can go. Well, that didn't come out very well. Hang on. See, it sort of auto forms into a key. So anyway, you turn them around and you stick them into the back. And this is something the Japanese version couldn't do. They added key interactivity for all of the Zords in Super Megaforce. In the Japanese version, again, you just turn the whole black part, but you turn this, and the chest opens just like the Japanese version. Now, on the Japanese version, when you turn the whole wheel, all of the compartments would open one at a time, and you could put little Zord components in, they'd pop out, but on the US one, you only put the chest Zord component in, all the others just sort of stick on. That's a bit of a bummer, but you can put a key inside of here. Now, the first thing I thought was, once you close it, how do you get your key out? But it's not anywhere near the type of lock that would actually, you know, lock. So yeah, And like the Japanese version, you can pop this off so it's not sticking out during the combinations. But unlike the Japanese version, it actually collapses in. So you can leave it out as you're doing stuff and have them sort of, you know, walking around on here and stuff. And yeah, so anyway, like I said, you attach the Zords with these ports here, here, and here that flip out. And also added ports on the shoulders, which is useful because there's a combination with the Silver Ranger's Megazord where you put the Silver Zord's arms onto this guy, but these arms have nowhere to go. However, now you can plug them onto the shoulders as little cannons, and that is awesome. So yeah, this is the legendary Megazord. I think it's quite good. If you don't feel like paying, you know, $80, $90 for the Japanese version, it's definitely worth getting. The little translucent Ranger key is awesome. The individual Zords aren't that great. The Megazord is pretty good, and it really depends on which auxiliaries you want to get. If you like Furimaru and, let's see, I'm not sure how Goryujin, the silver mech, is going to look, but some of them that rely on the pop-outness, like Magic Dragon and Furimaru, and to some extent Galllion, but the US one's so wildly different they really can't be compared. I think the US one's better, personally. But anyway, those ones, if you like those, get the Japanese version of this. If you like the combination with Pat Cruiser and the Galllion and the US exclusive Zeo Puncher Cruiser Zord, then get this, because it only combines with those, and it's the only one that combines with the Zeo one. And quite frankly, nothing was really removed too horribly from the US Pat Cruiser. And Galllion, like I said, is completely different. So yeah, like I said, recommending this depends on what other things you're going to buy, since that's the whole gimmick of the whole Power Rangers Megazords, is that everything sort of adds on to everything else. So if you plan on getting the Japanese auxiliary Zords, don't get this, get Gokaiyo. If you want to just get the US toys, then absolutely get this. You should definitely have it. It is fantastic. So yeah, this has been Second Soundwave. That has been the legendary Megazord. This has been Super Mega Red, who, by the way, just says when you plug him into the morpher, you know, the little key, poppy open blade morpher, legendary morpher, that's what it's called. It just says Super Mega Red, just like the one that comes with when you turn it again and it says Summon Skyship. So yeah, it's no different than the normal one as far as functionality, but it's translucent. So cool and translucent. Anyway, enough of that. This review's gone on for way too long. This is Second Soundwave. That's the legendary Megazord. This is Super Mega Red. I'm Second Soundwave. That's the legendary Megazord. This is Super Mega Red. See you next time.